Hey guys, Paul here again with ADV for Me. Thanks for tuning in to today's video. In today's episode, we're going to be taking the Tenere 700 OEM spring and replacing it with the Hyperpro Progressive spring. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get the bike up on a lift. I have the lift just to take most of the weight off the back wheel, and we're going to go ahead now and just take off the side panels. Now these side panels might look a little bit different than what you have, as these are the Touratech plastics that I have. So instead of two pieces here, I've got just the single piece. So we're going to go ahead now and remove these. The reason for this is to gain access to the top bolt on the shock. Let's have to take the seat off. Okay, take off that one. All right, so I know this is an awkward angle, but we are looking underneath the mud flap, and we're going to go ahead and remove that now. There's just two Torx, two T30s here that we're going to go ahead and remove. Okay, get that out of the way. That'll expose the shock and create a pathway for us to remove the shock once it's unbolted. Now, on the right-hand side of the bike, there's a 17 mil bolt right in here that we're going to go ahead and remove. The other end of the bolt has metal flanges capturing the bolt so it won't turn. Carefully pull that out. Come on, baby. There we go. Perfect. Now we'll just go ahead and push that bolt through. You can slide this back out. And there you have it. There's that. Okay, now we'll move down to the bottom of the bike. Okay, so now we're down underneath the bike, and we're going to go ahead now and remove this bolt here, which is a 14 mil here and a 17 mil on the opposite side. So we'll go ahead and get this locked on here. It's not a very deep bolt. I loosened it off already a little bit from the other side because it was a little tight, so I had to use a little more force. Now I'm just going to reach up inside and take the weight off the shock a little bit just to get the bolt out. Okay, now while you're down here too, it might be a good time for you to go ahead and re-lubricate all of your bolts down here in your lower suspension area. A lot of the guys complained of Yamaha not including a whole lot of grease in their building process, and I actually did a full tear down. Actually, the link is up here. Of a full removal of the swing arm, just to make sure that the lubrication was on point. So now we're going to go ahead and slip out the shock. Okay, now we can go ahead and just lean the shock forward a little bit and lift it up and shimmy it out. I did lift the bike a little bit more just to create a little bit more space between this back area here and the back tire. So there we have it. She's out. All right, so another thing to mention is I've gone ahead and I've removed the tension out of the shock. So I've set this to its softest setting. So we're gonna go now and just get this secured into the vise. I don't have soft jaws. I'm just gonna put this in here. I'm not gonna crank it in, but I'm just gonna put this in here just to hold it up. This is actually the cheapest vise you can buy. I gotta get a new one. So I've gone ahead and made the executive decision to not do sketchy things in this video, and I ordered a spring compression tool from Amazon. I think it was like $27 delivered. Now this is more for an automotive spring, a larger spring, but I think we're going to be okay just getting in one of these hooks into the into each end of the spring, and we'll see what happens here. So one thing I also want to mention is that a lot of these videos, when I'm doing these videos, this is the first time I've done a lot of these things. So honestly, if I can do it, you can do it. Just got to take your time, think about it, do a little bit of research, and get necessary tools if needed, and try and tackle things on your own. Let's see here. So I'm just going to go ahead and spread this open. Okay, so I know I just finished saying that I wasn't going to do anything sketchy. Well, I have to get a little sketchy. These claws here are too deep to fit between the spring and the shock body, so I'm going to go ahead and just nip off two of these corners here with the grinder. Again, don't try this at home, children. I'm a trained professional. That's hot. That's hot. Beautiful. Let's see how that looks. Yep. That'll work. That will work. Now, one more. I will say it's 11:30 at night, so I'm waiting for my wife to come out and give me shit. Beautiful. Okay, so let's give this another try. So now that I've modified the clamp, which hopefully works, I'm sure it will. Sure it will. Okay, so because I don't condone to sketchiness, I did some of this off camera because I don't recommend doing what I just did, but it has worked. I recommend taking your shock to a shop and having them remove it. I think Tusk makes a spring compressor tool, which would be a lot better than this. But hey, listen, at 11:30 at night, you want to get something done, where there's a will, there's a way. So I'm going to go ahead now and just slip the shock out. I've already taken out the perch. So now I can just very carefully slip out the shock. Okay, my contraption worked. Again, recommend getting it done professionally or buying the proper tool. Now we can go ahead and we can remove the stock spring. So here we have it. She's dirty. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up as well. Now we'll just do a comparison of the springs to check out their length. They probably are pretty damn close. Yep, they're right on. Exact same length. So this is the progressive spring, so you can see here that the coil is tighter through this section here than this one is here. So looking forward to getting this on the bike. Okay, I got the shock all cleaned up. Looks nice. Now we're going to go ahead and get the spring installed. If you're putting on the Hyperpro spring, you want to pay close attention and ensure that you're putting the tighter portion of the spring at the top of the shock. So this is going to go on like this. And we'll just begin carefully compressing the spring. And we want to try and be as even as possible. Okay, got the top perch in. Now I'm going to release the tension on the shock spring. This is a workout. Looks nice. So before tossing this back in the bike, let's try and line up the bottom clevis here, this opening with the top joint here. All right, so now I'm just going to apply a little bit of grease to both bolts before sliding them back in. Give them a quick clean. Don't need a ton. It's good. Now we'll head over to the other side and slip the shock back in. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay, so we'll get this on here. And off camera, I'll go ahead and torque these to, I believe it is 30 foot-pounds. So again, there's a couple tabs over here that help. We're going to have to lower this down a little bit. Line up those holes. That's good there. Up a little bit. There we go. Now slide the greased bolt back through. There we go. Now we'll get this secured. It's fastened up. Again, I'll go ahead and I'll just get this tightened up for now, and I'll do the torque spec on it. Good. Okay, so now that we have the shock back in, I'm just going to take it off the lift. Just give it a little compression here and see how she feels. The real test will be riding it, obviously, but yeah, it's good. All right, plastic time. So just off camera, I did go ahead and button up the mud flap. I forgot to do that. So now we're just going to go ahead and secure the side panels here. So the reason why I decided to call it upgrade, let's just call it replace, because it's not a huge real upgrade. I decided to replace my spring because with my bike loaded up for the types of trips that we do, I found the back end to be extremely soft. And I was also exceeding my sag by 13 millimeters. I think I calculated it out to be around 36%. So I'm looking to get a bit more range with my rear sag, having the opportunity to dial in the preload a bit more. And yeah, that's the main reason why I did it. So we will see how that all works out. And if you're just tuning in, this is your first video. I literally just did the full teardown of the front shocks and replaced the springs in my forks as well. I took it out for a ride today. Unfortunately, it was only road oriented, but I was really happy with the feel of the forks so far. With the old setup, braking, when I would brake, the front end would dip substantially, and now I find that the dip is produced by probably 50%. So I'm going to go and do a little off-road test tomorrow, and I'll report back. So anyways, thanks so much for tuning in. I don't need to bore you with these details. We're just going to go ahead now and just get the bike buttoned back up, and I'm going to go take it for a test ride. So again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.